Hey guys, I just want to say thank you so much for the love and the encouragements that were shared with me after the testimony video. I'm just so grateful for each and every one of you, but I'm even more honored and more grateful for the fact that you guys shared your stories with me and even what God has been doing and the struggles and experiences that you have been going through. Really, I don't take those things for granted, and I'm so grateful for each and every one of you. And I'm grateful for the work that you are allowing God to do in your life, especially when it comes to healing, because healing is one of those things where it's hard, it hurts, but to encourage you that when you go through the healing and when you get out on the other side and you see and look back to everything that God has used, that the enemy intended for evil and used it and turned it and redeemed it, you really see the amazing hand of God all over. And so a common question that I received was, what was my forgiveness journey and what did it look like with my ex-boyfriend? Now that one's a long story and I'm probably not going to be able to share the whole thing with you, but I did want to start off by saying I was in denial about it for like a super long time. Like I knew that it happened, but I just numbed it, right? I used a lot of different things to numb it. I don't know, maybe you are numbing some pain that God is trying to bring up to the surface, and I get it, I get why you would want to do that. But I want us to just stop for a moment and I want us to just be challenged in thinking, what would it be like to let go of that pain and to really experience the healing and the identity that God wants us to walk in, because He already created us with that identity before we were in our mother's womb, right? And when something like that happens to you, something of trauma, whatever it may be, it doesn't even have to be like that end of the spectrum, but it could be anything that had really, took away something in you. It can be so hard to see, how can these things be redeemed? How do you walk back into the full identity that God has for you? And I want to tell you, it is absolutely possible. It is more than possible, because God offers that every day to us. And for me in my journey, and I used to wish, God, heal me like that. Remove the pain, the uncomfortability, the deep pain and betrayal that I felt. Like I wanted it to be so fast and I wanted it to be so quick. I remember when I first started my counseling journey, and just side note, if you are in need of a counselor and you need someone to help you walk through some things, I just want to say that it is completely okay. Ask people that you know who has been to counseling and ask them to refer you to a good counselor, because there unfortunately are some not so great ones, but there are a lot of amazing ones. And I think it's imperative for us to allow a professional to really walk with us through things that we just can't understand, especially when we're so involved in the situation that has affected us deeply. So in my healing journey, after numbing it and denying it for so long, I remember my first session, it was so hard because it was the first time I heard the word victimized. And I just sat there and I was like, no, 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 no. I am not a victim, which is true. I am no longer a victim. Yes, it happened to me, but I'm not identified in that or by that anymore. But if we were to backtrack to that moment in time, I definitely felt like a victim. I had so much bitterness and resentment. And this is how you know if you still need to heal in an area. If someone were to talk about it, or if you can't even talk about it, or that when you watch or hear things or you sense things that are still bringing up triggers for you, and it's like bringing things up and it makes you feel negative in any type of way, I would say that's a really big indicator to maybe get some help, or maybe reach out to someone who can help you kind of move forward in what that looks like, a pastor, a counselor, whatever that you need. So I remember sitting there and I was going through a Bible verse, and Psalm 23, it's a famous one, but the part I want to really focus on in is verse 4, and it says, "Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me, your rod and your staff, they comfort me." That verse really spoke to me, because when you go through layer and layer and layer of healing, what can bring the most angst is not knowing how deep it goes and what's underneath it and what you're going to discover. And going through that verse, knowing that no matter how deep the valley that I may walk, God is with me. No matter how deep the pain runs, God is with me. No matter how long it takes, God is with me. And that's a reoccurring theme that I'm knowing more and more, even as I grow in my relationship with Christ, is that God is with me, God is with you. And so the healing journey, really, I don't have a video where it's like, great, I'm healed, we're good to go. It's an ongoing process. It's an ongoing journey that God is the one who is working it out step by step. When we feel frustrated, He is not frustrated. He is not worried. He is not concerned about the timeline that we are trying to be healed by or at the end of. God is concerned with the relationship that He wants to restore in us, because honestly, when you experience something like that, any trauma, it feels like something is taken away from you. And when our mind is in this perspective of things just get taken away, or something's missing in me, or whatever it may be, that restoring process takes time. I believe God can heal like this. I believe it, and I have seen it. For a lot of us, though, it is a process where it is like taking one step in front of the other, sometimes dragging your foot in front of another, but yet we are still moving forward just the same. I ran the New York City Marathon last November, and I was super excited, but I was super scared because I've never ran a marathon before. I've only trained up to a certain set of miles because I got injured towards the last training portion of my schedule. And it's race day, and I'm getting ready, and I'm, pumped. I got all my nutrition bars, like my belt had so much goo, which is like this electrolyte, like sodium gel thing for runners. It was like stacked, but I was ready. I'm running this race, right? I'm hitting mile 1, 2, 3. I see mile 15, I see mile 18, I hit mile 20. And that's when I was like, wow, I can do this. 6 more miles, that's nothing. Mile 21, and if you're a runner, you know what this term means, hitting the wall. That was the most painful thing I've ever experienced. For those who don't know what that means, it means at a certain point, all runners experience this hitting wall effect. It's like you get through the majority of the race, and then the last lug is always the most difficult. That's really similar to the healing journey that I experienced. The beginning, yeah, it was hard, but I kind of, got into this rhythm, and I was like, okay, I think I kind of know how to work through this. I think I know how to, and then there was a wall. And I remember that wall so clearly in my journey. And I remember God asking me, are you really ready to heal? And are you really ready to forgive? And I'm like driving, and I'm arguing with this idea, and I'm arguing with God, and I'm like, yeah, I already did forgive him. I'm fine. I don't need to do this again. I've done most of the work. And God's like, I remember God really challenging me and really asking me again, are you really ready to forgive? And I saw this picture in my mind where it's kind of like tug of war. You're holding the rope so tight and you're pulling. And after, whoever wins, or, you let go of the rope, you notice your hand kind of like stuck in this position because, you've been pulling the rope. And honestly, that's what I saw, how I was looking at this. I said I forgave, yet I was holding onto this rope, to this idea of being lost and losing out on so many different things because of this and that. And I just held on to this rope. But when you hold on to this rope, you can't move forward either. It's really difficult. And so God had to really ask me, am I really ready to let go of this rope, let go of what had happened, and move forward? And that was really, I think, when I was able to forgive, and we spoke for the first time, and I was able to offer him and extend to him forgiveness. And it was really God, because trust me, y'all, that ain't human stuff, all right? That is all the Lord. And so, but that was the last lug of my healing journey with that. But it was the hardest. It was the hardest. Like the marathon, the last 6 miles were the hardest. And if you're experiencing really like almost like hitting a wall, like you feel stuck, I want to encourage you to keep going, because you're so close to greater breakthrough than you know. And like Psalm 23:4 says, that in even the valley of the shadow of death, he will be with you. He will be your rod and staff. He will comfort you. And so you're not alone in however long it takes or what it looks like. And your healing journey will not look like my healing journey. But however God is writing your story, it's because there is a purpose that he wants to use for even greater things and for his kingdom. And so push through. Don't give up. Don't stop. Healing can be hard, but it is worth it, because you're not even just breaking things off for you, but think about the future generations to come after you, for the people that you will disciple and people that you will also be able to walk through, who struggle with the similar things that you and I have. And so I just wanted to encourage you and share that with you. I hope and I pray that these videos would just be a blessing, not anything of what I have to say, but everything to do with the God that we serve and the God that is writing and restoring every part of our lives, renewing our minds, and just restoring our identity, because we are no longer victims, we are no longer slaves, but we are children of God, we are daughters, we are sons of the Most High King. And I hope and pray that that identity would just be so strong, so much deeper, and it take you so much further than you would have ever imagined before. Anyway, I will see you guys next time, and thanks for tuning in.